On the way back.
David's gonna pass out in
I have my
20
traditional post MWC cold. It's basically like I do it every year. You know, it's nostalgic.
I did not get sick from CES.
Also
I was expecting.
it's also nostalgic. Sorry, that was not a very good joke.
Oh, is Toolbox finally working?
I was
Oh my
about to
God.
say, yeah. I just got it to load. How about that?
Oh.
Where's my overlay?
I can use my overlay now.
Anymore?
I don't know where I put mine.
Oh, I should find my overlay. I don't even know where that thing
David's
is.
gonna
Yes.
pass out in 20 minutes. And we're all gonna
Oh
be-
yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's cough syrup, pretty good.
Okay, where's my oh wait. Nope, that's not it. It's in one of these.
I'm also having a drink, so I don't think that's actually recommended with cough syrup.
No,
but
it's certainly not.
I'm doing it anyway.
Well, if
I
David
feel like that's
dies on
probably
camera, we
like-
can call 911 for him.
In the
I don't
grand
know his
scheme of
address,
like
though.
things you're not supposed to do, that's a pretty mild one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just like don't do it because you shouldn't operate heavy machinery, not don't do it because you'll die.
Well, the acetaminophen.
Oh, maybe, you know.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's-
one.
Oh no,
It's
there's
warning
no
your liver.
acetaminophen in this cough syrup.
Oh, then you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Okay, we were recording.
Wait. I need my overlay. I'm looking for it. I can't find it.
Yeah, well, screw it.
Fuck. All right. You.
I mean,
I'll
you can
find it.
mess with that however you want. You know, while we're recording, you can do two things.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well, I'm
sound
super-
test or was
Scatterbrained right now. let me think about what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay.
it's supposed to be David?
Does everybody have the announcement order sorted out? If you guys figured that,
Okay,
that
yeah, I always go first.
Well, I don't even have the dock open. Damn it.
Everybody just shout out at once.
Where's the doc?
I'm gonna go second to last, and Ryan is last.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and why is Buffer different-y?
Huh?
Buffer's different now. It's customized for each network. And Ryan's face is the thumbnail on Google Plus and Facebook. Ryan's very pixelated face. Which is just perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. I have shared the broadcast and I'm going to open up the chat window. And
Hi, chat.
Hello, chat. And if there's a chat in the chat, hello, Chad.
So this is David on cough syrup, huh?
Oh, yes.
This is interesting.
Okay. Let's see here. Get my chat window aligned. Pull up the doc. Do I really even need the document? I guess I do.
I can't get my overlay working.
Oh yeah.
How can you not get it working?
Probably.
It's
I selected upload and it doesn't do anything. I selected upload.
You have to,
but I select
you have
the
to select the
upload.
custom overlay.
Oh shit.
There you go.
Okay.
You should lower your camera down or raise your torso up. Either or.
Ryan's using the Huawei laptop that has the camera and the keyboard.
Can you guys see me?
My eyes are up here, guys.
How's my picture?
Stop staring at my chins.
And he froze too.
He is frozen in that position. Wow, that is amazing, actually.
I'm still frozen. Is it not working?
No, you're
Yeah,
good now.
everything's
You're
fine
frozen
now.
now. Oh God. Okay.
Wait, is it mirrored? Am I mirrored?
No, that's
it's
just the
supposed to
way
be
it
that way.
looks for you.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know why the overlay is always backwards, but it is.
Hmm. But it looks fine on your end.
Yeah,
You
everyone
can hit
else.
that little button up there that says mirror your video feed or whatever, and then it shows right on your end.
All right, let me restart the recording here. Okay. Silence,
Wait, I don't have the
please.
document.
God, it's really quiet in here.
That's the point, David.
You sound so clear when you speak directly into the microphone.
I know, but I don't want to sit here like this.
Yeah, that's true. You look pretty weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 3. Welcome to the Android Police Podcast. I'm your host, David Ruddick.
I'm Ryan Whitwam.
I'm Cody Toombs.
I'm Jordan Palmer.
I'm Corbin Davenport.
And I'm Ryan Hager.
God, there's so many people on this show now.
Yeah,
What's up with that?
It's, well, you know,
glorious.
it's a full house week because we got a full house of topics.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about MWC and the Galaxy S9. That's basically what you need to know. Also, Android P. Like there are way too many things going on in the scope of this episode. We will probably I don't know. This might be really long, or it might be. We just don't cover everything. I don't
This
know.
is the Lord of the Rings episode.
I'm actually starting to get anxious, guys. I feel like we've got way too much information to cover.
Okay.
How are we
okay,
going to cover literally every single Android P spotlight?
We're gonna have an intermission of 30 minutes in the middle, so everyone can do a bathroom break and go get popcorn.
Sounds good. We'll call
like
it.
that plan.
It's a double feature. I'm kidding. It's not. We're not going to go that long. I'd actually freak out. So we'll start with the Galaxy S9. So Ryan and I both have Galaxy S9 Pluses that we've been using. I wrote the review for Android Police, but I think Ryan will also have plenty of his own thoughts to share. If you've read the review, which is frankly not many of you, it's true. Not many people read our Samsung reviews. Guess why? And basically, so my thoughts on the phone are, it's a Galaxy S8 but better. It really is. So it's just so similar to last year's phones in so many ways that the difference is, the new chipset, new main rear camera, and Oreo. Those really are, I would say, the three kind of touchstone features of the Galaxy S9 as compared to the Galaxy S8. Everything else is pretty minor. So the new rear camera does really well in low light. There are some asterisks there that we can talk about. Oreo obviously makes TouchWiz better. Autofill alone just makes setting up a new phone so much easier. Granted, a lot of people are buying this phone coming from Nougat or earlier, so they don't get to enjoy that until they buy their next Android phone after this one. But and then the rear, wait. Oh man, I am sorry, guys. I have a cold and I have taken Dayquil, and I am just not quite there. My third pillar was, I've completely blanked. Sorry,
this is
I'm
a professional podcast.
It's
Everyone.
a professional. It's actually not.
No.
We'll call it a semi-professional podcast. And I think the third item I was going to go for was, oh man, I was really hoping I would have it by now. Does anybody remember?
AR emojis, obviously, right?
God, no.
Those are so creepy.
I know. I'm actually kind of enjoying just watching David struggle. This is.
I really am struggling, guys. Help me out here. I had 3 pillars. I came in with structure to this introduction. So camera, Oreo, and
Fingerprint sensor.
Yeah.
that's important. Certainly, that is definitely one of the big ones. The new location is definitely an improvement, I would say, but not a massive one. It's better. I think I'm waiting for some cases from Spigen. Spigen's just going to ship me a truckload of cases because that's what Spigen does. And I'm going to try them out. And I think once you get a case on this phone, the fingerprint scanner will be a lot easier to use. As is, I just don't like the fact they don't texture the button. It would be a lot easier to find if there's a rough texture on the fingerprint scanner.
Yeah.
All of the pixels and such.
It feels the same as all the surrounding material.
Yeah,
and the camera.
It's not super helpful. Oh, the Snapdragon 845. That was my third pillar. Oh, I feel so much better now. So you get improved LTE performance, significantly more powerful GPU, a more efficient and quicker CPU, and just a kind of across the board improvements really on the chipset. One thing that I've noticed, so today's the first day I've really gone full bore on this phone and trying to use it a lot. Battery life, not so hot. At least in my opinion. I know, Ryan, if you've had a similar
I
experience.
felt like it was pretty much the same as the Galaxy S8.
Yeah, which is to say, compared to the Pixel 2 XL, not as good.
Yeah, not
Do you know
not
what
not
the
as
size is?
It's the same as last year. Same
Yeah,
as last year's
3,500
phones.
milliamp hours, and I think that the enhanced brightness of the screen outdoors, man, it just nukes the battery. That's what I've noticed so far.
Yeah,
I've even turned off always on display just to see if I get better battery life, and it doesn't really seem to be making that much of a difference.
Yeah,
it's
because 35 milliamps is actually pretty big.
I've seen Huawei eke
Well,
out
it's a
more
6.2 inch screen. It's a big screen.
That's
yeah.
true.
I mean, and it is I mean, it's slightly thicker this year, even though the battery is the same size. I guess presumably because they moved the fingerprint sensor, and that meant they had to adjust the internals a little bit. So it's slightly thicker, slightly heavier. But I mean, the battery life has been the same for me, I guess, which is fine. I'm not like upset about it, but it would have been nice if they'd found a way to incorporate a little bit more capacity.
Yeah, I'm honestly, the battery life for me is a little disappointing coming from the Pixel 2. I mean, I have some days where the Pixel 2 is the XL, excuse me, is not my, always lasting as long as I want it to, but this phone for the last 2 days has been kind of annoying, honestly. By late afternoon, I'm usually below 20%, which is not so great. So I just feel like overall this phone is definitely it's an upgrade from the Galaxy S8. The fingerprint scanner location change alone and the new rear camera are reasons that you would want this. But I feel like Samsung is sandbagging us a little bit this year. I feel like they could have done more, and they chose not to.
Definitely. I'm pretty sure that Samsung was like, hey, people are going to buy our new phone anyway, so let's not take any crazy risks, and we'll just improve on the stuff that we didn't get right last time. And and that's the Galaxy S9. Although I will note, it does seem noticeably faster to me than the Galaxy S8.
Without a doubt.
It's like usable. I turned on my Galaxy S8 the other day to test something, charging speeds actually, and it was so obnoxiously slow. I couldn't even believe like how different it was. It was like frustrating, and I remembered all over again why I stuck it in a drawer all those months ago.
How does it compare to the Note 8 in performance?
I think it's faster than the Note 8.
It is. I would definitely say so.
Yeah,
I've been using a Note 8 side by side, and the Note is slower.
Yeah, and the Note was faster than the Galaxy S8. But I mean, this one is faster. I mean, like, it's still not like it's not pixel fast. Like, it hesitates more than I think a phone that costs this much should. But in terms of Samsung phones, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say so. The animations are a little more janky. They are a little more rapid, like overly sped up. Not quite to the OnePlus 5T level, but it feels a little too jumpy at times. The Pixel feels much smoother in that regard. Even if, so what I've been noticing is that Galaxy S9 may load apps faster than the Pixel, but the feeling on the Pixel is that things are happening more progressively, whereas in the Galaxy S9 things kind of jump. But that's, I'm not saying that the Pixel is better for that reason. It just is a different kind of experience. The other thing I've noticed is that Samsung's scrolling algorithm, not as good as the Pixel's. The Pixel has it pretty much nailed. Not perfect, not iPhone perfect, but it's getting there. Samsung's is not great. Samsung's is still very noticeably worse. It's not the worst I've used, definitely. Like Essentials scrolling algorithm, you feel like you're drunk trying to use the phone.
Yep.
But Samsung's is just like, it's just that little bit worse, and you can really tell, unfortunately. That said, these are pretty nitpicky things. Task switching is very quick on the Galaxy S9 in my experience. The 6 gigabytes of RAM keeps things in memory pretty reliably. It seems like it is using some of that memory to effective purpose. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the performance on the phone. And as somebody who has kind of long been annoyed by the way Samsung phones perform, that's probably a big compliment, at least for me. I do think the Pixel gets some things right that this phone doesn't. But knowing that for people who use a lot of apps like Artem, actually, I was having lunch with Artem today, and he let me use his Pixel 2, and my God, it is the slowest Pixel 2 on the planet. It's like
we actually said we're surprised.
I only have 228 apps installed. Actual sentence uttered by Artem this afternoon.
That does not surprise me.
Not at all, of course.
If you've ever seen a screenshot on the site that he took, that will not surprise you at all.
He's like,
I remember a couple of weeks ago, he put a screenshot of his Chrome window in the slide.
Oh my God.
And there was like 100 extensions.
And he doesn't hide any of them either, yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah,
yeah. He only had two tabs open in Chrome, to his defense.
Artem is the ultimate power user.
He is. He is a overpower user. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Anyway, his Pixel is pretty slow, so maybe a case for more RAM. The other thing, so let's talk about the camera a little bit. So I've had a chance to use the camera a lot in the last couple of week and a half, I guess we've had the phone now. I have some very mixed feelings about it. So I would say in low light, the level of detail it can capture, pretty impressive. Motion blur, major issue in low light with this phone. Like it is a problem.
It leans heavily toward making things as bright as possible. And usually that results in a pretty cool looking photo. Maybe not entirely realistic. It makes dark rooms look almost like sunlit.
Yeah.
But then like the shutter speed just gets kind of long, and if there's anybody like in the picture moving around, they will most likely be blurry.
Yeah, I mean, I have some photos in my review. One which demonstrates this, I think, very well with the Arc de Triomphe, not in Paris, but the one in Barcelona. I don't know if it's called the Arc de Triomphe, but it's a triumphant arch anyway. And you can see the Galaxy S9. It blurs people walking in the crosswalk and cars that are driving across the scene just very noticeably. I think that Samsung is going to have to retune this. They're going to have to jump up the ISO a little bit and knock down the shutter speed to be a little faster. As is, the blur is unacceptable because people are using their photos like in bars to take pictures with friends, and people move. You need a little bit more to work with because as is, it can be striking. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
like a little bit.
There's like no noise.
Yeah, the noise reduction is incredibly good. That is the one area where the Galaxy S9 has the Pixel 2 squarely beat. But once you go out of low light scenarios, I think I still have to hand it to the Pixel. DxO Mark, can shove it. I think that their analysis, like of that scene where they're like, oh, the Galaxy S9 has better contrast in dynamic range. If you look at that picture, the Galaxy S9s look like this like super softened garbage, and the Pixel 2s has this very nice contrast, very defined edges, not overly defined, I would say, but it looks like a nicer photo. I honestly, having taken a lot of pictures with both phones side by side in the last week and a half, the Pixel 2 almost always wins me over A for white balance and B for overall scene exposure, which I think are key to making a photo look nice. And also edge contrast is definitely more pleasing on the Pixel, in my opinion. There are some shots where I've seen the Galaxy S9 take a better photo, without a doubt, especially in low light conditions, and especially low light conditions where you're using digital zoom. The Galaxy S9 can get some pretty damn good detail.
I mean, the f1.5 aperture mode for the main cameras is pretty good.
It is, definitely. I think Samsung can improve this camera with software updates. Whether that's going to happen, we'll see. But I think given the hardware capabilities, actually Sasha Segan at PC Mag did a pretty decent analysis. He was shooting in RAW on the Galaxy S9. And what he determined was that actually the Galaxy S9 sensor is getting a better level of detail and contrast out of a scene than an iPhone X or a Pixel 2 oftentimes. But the JPEG, the way it's processing to the JPEG image, it's kind of ruining it a little bit. So Samsung, again, with the overly aggressive processing, kind of hamstring their camera. But I think this comes down to the fact that while Samsung is relying probably on a more limited data set and probably a less developed kind of, algorithm for image processing, Google is relying heavily on machine learning and AI to inform the way its camera processes an image at this point. And it ends up that the Pixel takes nicer pictures because of it, even if it's probably using inferior hardware. And I think when we see the Pixel 3 later this year, Google will once again demonstrate that advantage is just going to keep getting bigger. So I think that if you're into still photography, Pixel 2 XL especially is just the phone to beat right now. Even the Galaxy S9 just isn't there. Even with the telephoto lens, which honestly, the telephoto lens on the S9 is just as bad as the Note 8s. I don't like the pictures it puts out. So I think that Google is demonstrating that computational photography is really the future of smartphone cameras. Everybody else is going to have to adjust.
This is true. Can we talk briefly about the AR emoji?
No, we cannot.
We should.
Because so Samsung obviously had trouble thinking of things that they could talk about at the announcement because there isn't really a lot that's different about this phone, and they did spend 4 or 5 minutes talking about AR emoji, which probably was the most uncomfortable 4 or 5 minutes of my life.
But you've only been to one Samsung press conference. Right? There are so many more.
But did any of the others have AR emoji? Because these
no, but they had Jeremy, the tap dancing child.
That was pretty bad too.
That was pretty bad.
But the AR emoji, when they were on stage showing them off, I felt sorry for the guy who was up there and had to pretend that they were awesome because they are so not awesome. They're twitchy and weird and uncanny valley sort of creations. They don't look anything like you when you like build them.
No, they don't.
And like the mouths just like move by themselves, like they just like twist. It's very unsettling and weird.
It's
and
like
I
when you
think-
see the physics bug out in a video game and stuff
Yes,
starts, like,
exactly
shaking.
it's
like
like
that.
it's like somebody turned Gary's mod into a camera mode.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
perfect description.
It is going to
Um,
make for some dank memes.
A couple days ago, I saw a sponsored tweet on my Twitter from the Sprint CEO, and he was talking, and it was about some contest they were running, and the video had him as an AR emoji, and that might have been one of the most disturbing things I've seen. It was it was exactly like Gary's mod, actually. It was like someone made a YouTube video using Gary's mod as the engine 8 years ago. It's very creepy.
That's pretty great. I mean, it's awful, but like,
Yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate that Samsung thought this was good enough to actually release.
oh no, this is honestly like this is embarrassing for them to me. So
Yeah.
what they're seeing is that Animoji generated buzz, and so they felt the need to respond. And this is classic Samsung in the worst sense.
Yeah.
Where there's not any question of, does this enhance the user experience? Do people want this? Is this actually any good? We need to have this because Apple has this. That's all. That's the entire calculus.
Yeah, it's just a bad thing. I mean, I don't really know people who use iPhone 10s, so I mean, do people actually use Animoji, or is it just like a joke?
I
Not
think
after
people
the first
used
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I feel like it's one of those things where you open the phone, you play with it for like an hour, and then you completely forget it.
So it's
Yeah.
like Project Tango.
Very much a great showrooming feature, where like somebody walks into a carrier store and somebody's like, "Oh, have you seen Animoji? Let's make you an Animoji." Like,
Yeah, it probably sold some phones. I guess.
I
guess
could
so.
definitely see that, but I honestly don't think many people use it outside that context.
I do think the way Apple did it though was pretty cool. The way you could put it on like cute.
I mean, it works
Animals and
well.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
mean,
It does.
obviously.
No, Animoji actually is pretty good. It's like awful, but it's really good at being awful.
It's a
Yeah.
cool demonstration of the technology.
Absolutely.
Is there an API for that like apps can use, or is
I
it
don't
only
believe
Apple?
so, no.
Well, that's
Yeah.
dumb. That's the only.
There will
thing
be
I
an
can imagine.
API in iOS 12, Ryan, or maybe iOS 13. We'll see.
Yeah,
Weren't they going to use it for Snapchat filters or something like that? I thought I remembered that there was some announcement about they were going to use the same mapping tech for all of the.
That sounds like the sort of thing Snapchat would say, and then they'll release it in 3 years, and it'll suck.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
assuming Snapchat is still around in 3 years.
that's a good point. So Galaxy S9. I mean, my overall verdict is this: if you want to buy a smartphone today, this is the best Android smartphone you can buy. And so right now, I don't recommend you buy a Pixel 2 unless you get one at a steep discount. If you get $300 or $400 off the MSRP of a 2XL, okay.
I mean, I don't know if it's to the point that we should not buy a Pixel 2. It's not. We're not that.
No,
close.
not buy completely, as much as you shouldn't buy unless you're getting a good deal on it.
And
It's not a good value anymore.
I think
Yeah.
it also depends highly on like how long you're going to be using it, because the
Sure.
longevity of those two different phones is very strikingly different when you consider how Samsung updates its software.
So I think for me, like if I'm just, consumer value advice. That's where I'm coming from. Not in terms of, are you going to like this phone more than the other one? The Pixel 2 XL's resale value is going to be crap because Verizon is doing discounts left and right. They've ensured that it's going to have a poor resale value 6 months from now. The Galaxy S9, on the other hand, will probably maintain pretty good resale value through the end of the year. I think that's kind of I think that's kind of a given. And also, I think that the pricing on the Galaxy S9 Plus is pretty fair, really. $840. That's 30 less than the Pixel 2 XL's MSRP. You get a newer chipset, a much better display, a second rear camera, Samsung Pay. You get wireless charging.
Yeah. I think we can all agree that the Pixel 2 XL is too expensive.
It is way too expensive, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
I think that, if you're buying today, the Galaxy S9 honestly, I'd say the Plus is the phone to get. With it being a little shorter this year, I think it's more manageable, especially with the fingerprint scanner being. I just dropped the phone.
Is it in the Pixel 2
Do you
fabric?
want to check? Do you want to check and see if it's broken? If we find out
It
live?
landed on my plastic rolly chair protector.
Drop
so
test.
We're real good. Anyway, I have cases coming. It's that's why. It is a slippery phone, by the way. I would definitely recommend a case. So something I noticed actually, and for you cold weather people, the Galaxy S9 is the first Samsung phone since I think like the S5 or the Note 4 to offer enhanced touch sensitivity mode, so that you can kind of use it with gloves. So I actually discovered this when I was in Barcelona and my hands were freezing, and so I found this option in there. And I thought, oh, Samsung phones have had this forever. But actually, I've never had any reason to use it because I live in California. And apparently, they stripped this out as of the Galaxy S6. And so they haven't had it. It's under, enhanced touch sensitivity. They don't call it glove mode because it's not clearly meant to work for gloves, but it does work with them if you press hard enough. Whereas they don't work at all if you press hard in regular mode. It's like screen protector mode or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's a thing.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I do live where it's cold, so
I think that's all we can say about the Galaxy S9. It's really not a very exciting phone.
Yeah,
It's so unexciting that we're willing to recommend it over the Pixel 2 XL, though.
Well, I mean, I'm just speaking from a dollars and cents perspective. If you want the most, wonderfully smooth and delightful Android experience, of course.
I mean, I'll go ahead and say I think the Pixel 2 XL is still the best phone you can buy.
I think it is, but I think the Galaxy S9, better network performance characteristics, better resale value, better aftermarket accessory support, and you can actually buy it pretty much everywhere. So those are definitely advantages.
My girlfriend's actually irrationally upset because I got her a Nexus 5X a year or two ago, and she can't get cases for it anywhere. And she's like, I want all of these cute, it's for a Samsung. Can't do that.
Yeah, right. Like Kate Spade cases.
Yeah, exactly.
My wife
Kate
does
Spade
the same
makes some
thing.
really nice cases. I think they have them for the new Pixels, though.
I mean, Google's cases have gotten a lot better. I really like all the first party Pixel cases.
You know what we should do instead of talking about cases? We should talk about Mobile World Congress, which
we could do that. That would be more appropriate.
We were there. We were in Spain, I think. I vaguely remember this.
It was pretty cold, though. I'm not sure.
12 hours out of every day.
Yeah. So I vaguely remember this. Actually triggered the command on my Galaxy S9 just now. That's odd. So what happened at MWC?
Android Go happened. We saw the first Android Go phones. That was a thing.
Android Go is a go.
Android Go is a go. So there were 4 or 5 Android Go phones. There's one from Alcatel. There was
more than that, I think. A bunch of little Indian ones too.
Yeah, there were a couple that we came across on the floor that we'd never actually heard about before. But but I mean, there were 4 or 5 big ones. The Nokia one, that Alcatel phone, and
ZTE.
ZTE phone. Yeah, I mean, so Android Go exists sort of. It's going to come out soon, mostly. I think one of them actually went on sale.
So the listing's up, but ever since I've been checking, unless it's sold out immediately, you can't actually buy it yet. The listing's up though.
Yeah. So we got some time with an Android Go phone to sort of play around and talk to Google about what makes it different. And I was surprised how much regular Android it was. But at the same time, there were noticeable differences sort of at the system level that made it, run fine on the modest hardware. I mean, it's not blazing fast. I was using a Nokia one, so it didn't really have any crapware pre-installed. But OEMs will be allowed to do that. They will be allowed to make changes to Android Go, which they cannot do on Android One. So there might be some devices that are less pleasant to use than others. But Google did say that there are going to be performance benchmarks that these devices have to pass when they go through certification.
Yeah, so they're being open about that. So here's an interesting kind of discussion. I was planning to write an article about this, but I haven't gotten around to it. Android Go versus Android One. So Android Go is essentially what Android One was initially supposed to be.
Yeah.
And Android One is now what the Google Play Edition program was
Yeah,
supposed to.
it's the return of the Play Edition phones. Although the really, I would like to see like more of those. If we're gonna do that, let's have a Galaxy phone.
Yeah, that'd
in
be
the program.
nice. I don't
Yeah,
think it's going to
Samsung would
happen.
never do that ever, but it would be.
No, they did do it with the Galaxy S4,
Well,
right?
yeah, they did it back then. They would never do it now.
Yeah,
There's
definitely
also
not.
one.
Yeah, the HTC M1 and 7
Yep.
and
Yep.
There was
G-Pad
the
8.3.
tablet.
Yes, there was. Yeah, I remember that. So we talked a little bit about Android Go. So Android Go is, basically the idea is Google doesn't actually you're not going to buy an Android Go phone. It's not going to say Android Go anywhere.
Yeah.
Android Go is not a brand.
That it's Android Go itself isn't technically a thing.
Yeah, it's just it's a specific package of Android. So the idea is that basically what I understand is that if a phone has 1 GB of RAM or less going forward, it will be an Android Go phone.
Yeah.
Google is essentially saying, good luck certifying an Android device that isn't using Go if it has 1 GB of RAM or less, because you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, and these phones, they'll run all of the same Android apps. Like you can install whatever you want on it. It's still Android, but they're not going to be very powerful, and they will stress certain applications. Like if you open the Play Store, they're like, here are some applications that are good for your phone.
Yeah. So, and as we said, carriers and OEMs can still ruin them with bloatware, and I'm sure they will. But Google is supposedly trying to make sure that when they test these phones, that the bloatware that's preloaded is part of the testing suite, so that it passes certain performance benchmarks. Google is definitely trying to exert more control with Android Go. That seems to me to really be the crux of why this is happening. They want to ensure that these low-end Android phones have a good experience. Now, granted, you and I, or really anybody probably listening to this podcast, will never buy an Android Go phone to use as our primary smartphone unless it's just for the novelty of it. Like, these are going to be bad phones. Yeah, they're bad, but like Google's trying to make them less bad.
They'll be the best bad phones out there.
Yeah, exactly. So, which
It
is
will
why,
be
like,
slightly less terrible.
yeah. So there are a lot of things happening at MWC, so we're going to kind of blow past Android Go here. I mean, we'll hear more about that, I'm sure, at Google I/O and in the coming months generally.
Yeah.
LG made an announcement about the V30s ThinQ, and it's stupid. I'm going to leave it at that.
It is real
I
dumb.
don't even want to talk about it. It's just so bad and pointless. Nokia announced some new phones that are actually not stupid. We already talked about the Nokia One, which is their Android Go phone. The 6 2018 was announced for China earlier this year, and you can read about that if you want. It's going to come to the US apparently in May, so that's of note. But the two truly new phones are the 7 Plus and the 8 Sirocco, which Scott, who is not here with us, had a chance to play with a little bit.
I did as well.
Yeah, we swung by their booth. We played with each. You know what? The Sirocco is really sharp. Like the edges are. It is. It looks great. It looks sharp, but it feels sharp too.
See, I couldn't care less about the Sirocco because it's overpriced and old chipset. I don't care. The 7 Plus to me looks like an actually interesting phone.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've seen everyone saying, is that the Nokia 7 Plus is really the one to look out for.
It seems like it's a good price, a good chipset, and a big phone. I love a big phone with, more value-oriented price point. I would love to try this one out actually myself. It looks nice. It's going to run Android One. All of Nokia's phones going forward that aren't Android Go phones will be Android One phones, by the way. Nokia is committed to this, or I should say HMD has, which is exciting. But I think the 7 Plus, I think it's what, €399. So
it looks like a really compelling phone, but like it also looks like something they might not sell in the US.
Yeah. That 660's never made it to the US before.
Yeah, I think the price point just ends up being too high, and the 660 is definitely a Asia-Europe focused chip. So we'll see.
Yeah, I would, if this was on Project Fi, I probably wouldn't mind buying this, because the Snapdragon 660 and the nearly 4,000 milliamp battery, that's going to be killer.
Yeah.
I think this phone will be very good. So the 660 uses cryo cores, so it's a pretty fast chip.
Yeah, it's like a big bump over the 630, even though they're apparently pin compatible. Like the capabilities of the chip are just a lot better.
Yeah, it's definitely a significant performance improvement. So Nokia is doing some interesting things. I think the mid-range market really in the US at that price point is not very competitive, unfortunately. They would essentially be going up against like, I guess Moto kind of, but the Moto X4 has been discounted like so crazy,
Yeah.
that like
I
it's
mean,
not
they would
matter
have
anymore.
to. I feel like they'd have to come in cheaper than like just the transition from euros to US dollars, because OnePlus phones will exist and they're going to offer better hardware for just a little bit more money. So
Yeah, exactly. So I think OnePlus, it kind of dominates in that sector. So we'll see what Nokia does. Also, I agree with everybody in the chat that the Sirocco immediately reminds me of the Volkswagen Scirocco, which is a car. Um, and but actually, the eighth Sirocco really it doesn't seem that interesting to me. Like it's a sexy curved edge display phone.
It looks like a Mi Note 2.
But it's so nice when you touch it. Oh,
I mean, sort of. I just didn't like the way it felt. Like, it's super sharp.
Okay.
oh, it was
Um,
great.
Moving on to phones that will probably in the grand scheme be irrelevant. Sony announced the XE2 and XE2 Compact.
Oh.
Yeah. What is
Yeah.
yawn? Who cares?
Yeah.
Sony.
So there are fingerprint scanners on the back now, which thank God. But
Hey, you know what though? I wonder if this will be turned off in the US.
I think I think I heard that they won't. So they should.
I mean,
they
it
should
would
work.
be extra. It would be extra ridiculous if they were, because at least before, when they had the fingerprint sensor in the button, it was like, that's still a button. It still has a reason to exist.
Yeah.
But if they sell the same hardware with like a dead fingerprint sensor in the middle of the back, that would be hilarious.
That would be truly hilarious. So these have Snapdragon 845s. They do feature a slightly more modern design. Sony apparently in some marketing materials has called it a full screen display, but Sony is wrong.
Sony is very wrong.
It's an 18 by 9, but there's still a lot of bezel at the top and bottom.
Yeah, so apparently Sony is saving its true super flagship for a little later this year. The XE2 is more of a premium, but not quite full on, flagship competitor phone. So basically, the display it's a 1080p LCD. So supposedly, Sony is going to make an OLED display phone later this year.
I wonder who's making the panel.
I'm guessing probably Samsung.
Yeah. They're not going to buy that many panels. They'll be able to get them from Samsung.
If it is using a Sony OLED panel, that'd be pretty crazy. But I kind of doubt Sony has developed a mobile OLED panel.
Because I think they made their own IPS panels in the older phones, right?
They did, yeah, and they were pretty bad compared to everybody else. Like Sony went with that for a while. It's like, guys, viewing angles. You're not building a TV. That was a bit of an issue for them.
Yeah, I don't really. This design is so strange because if they just took the existing design and just chopped off the bezels and moved the fingerprint sensor to the back, I think it would have been perfect. But instead, they made like this weird HTC U11 clone with like the fingerprint sensors way too low.
So actually, people have compared it to Nokia phones, and I agree with that assessment myself.
I mean, I don't know. When I used them, I didn't really like the way they looked in real life. They look, I don't know, like they look bulgy.
They look comical.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they seem like they would be like slim when you like see them from a distance, but when you actually hold it, like they taper
thick. Yeah.
Like they taper so much.
Yeah, so they're at their thickest points 11.1 millimeters thick, which is it's not crazy thick, but it's
and that's for the thin one.
Yeah, and it goes down to 6 millimeters on the edge, and then 11 in the middle, and it's just it feels.
Also,
weird.
so this phone weighs this 5.7 inch phone weighs almost 200 grams.
Yeah,
that's insane. That is the heaviest that might be the heaviest 5.7 inch phone in years. It is a portly phone. So
it looks like it's pregnant with a smaller phone.
Yes, it does. I don't think Sony's going to make really the inroads it wants to here. It does run Oreo, and Sony's been pretty good about providing fast software updates to its devices, but I just don't know. And the other thing is Sony, for all the noise they make about their cameras, like this has a 19 megapixel motion eye with a 1 2/3 2.3 inch Exmor RS sensor and 960 FPS slow-mo. Guess what? Their still photography kind of sucks on their phones. It's just not very good.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be better. we haven't used it yet. But historically, Sony, they make all the camera sensors for everybody basically, but they can't seem to make very good actual cameras for their phones, and that is a bit concerning.
And they make amazing mirrorless cameras.
Yeah.
Right? So they know how to do. I mean, I guess
I think like all of us have Sony cameras, like real
Except for
cameras that we
Jordan.
use.
Yeah. So
I have an icon. Yeah.
I'm not cautiously optimistic about this. I am cautiously pessimistic about these phones.
All of Sony's divisions make something really good, just none of them share it with their mobile division.
Yeah, apparently it's so crazy to me that Sony has all these wonderful businesses, and yet their phones just like they just can't bring it together.
Like that. Remember that the PlayStation phone? I forgot what it was called.
The Xperia Play.
Yeah, that was like the only time it really seemed like the different parts of Sony were working together.
I mean,
on a
and that was
Until
a
they didn't
Sony.
work
That was a
together.
Sony
Yeah.
Ericsson phone too. That was before Sony proper took over.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So before we linger too long on Sony, we've got one more MWC topic on our list here, and a lot more happened at MWC, but we're kind of rushed for time here. The Zenfone 5 and 5Z. So Asus made a notch phone.
Yeah,
They made several notch phones.
and it's dumb.
It
Yeah.
is dumb. I agree. Pretty
Notch
dumb.
is dumb because there doesn't need to be a notch on this phone at all because it still has a giant chin.
It's just
Well, the
so
chin's
bad.
because of the chin's because of the display tech. It's
Right,
an IPS
but
tech.
they could have just moved. They could just move the display down.
I agree. It is one of the nicest IPS panels I've seen, though. I will say
It
that.
does. The pictures, honestly, Ryan's pictures make it look really good.
It's a
Like,
really nice screen.
It does look really pretty outstanding.
Yeah, but it's just all these Android OEMs, like these mid-range manufacturers, are like, hey, we can get some attention by copying the iPhone, so let's do that.
Granted, Asus's software is generally what you would call a train wreck. So
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, it looks like a bad Samsung clone. It had all of the like white and blue elements like the Samsung UI does. It was not good.
Yeah, like on this Max Plus M1, it's like, it looks like TouchWiz, even though it's Nougat.
yeah,
Like-
it looks pretty bad.
And they can't keep Zenfone versions the same across their phones. Like Zen UI 4 doesn't mean jack. There's different versions depending on which phone you use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got like they're kind of like Xiaomi, where they've separated the versioning between their custom skin and the Android versions.
Yeah.
You can have like Zen UI 4 phones running Marshmallow, I think. It's,
What's interesting about the 5Z is that Asus says it's going to start at $500.
So here's the thing about that. Asus is notorious for this, where they say $500, but they mean, under $500, but that's based on Taiwanese dollars, and we're not actually releasing it in America. Like, this happens all the time in MWC with Asus. I've been going to MWC for a while, and they've done this before. They say the price in dollars, but the product never actually comes out in the United States.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's what this is going to be.
Because I mean, at $500, depending on how bad Zen UI 5 is, it wouldn't be too bad.
So what you can guarantee is that the camera processing will be garbage. That's pretty much a given.
Well, I was actually pretty surprised when I was playing with the camera at the event. It's got Sony's new sensor, the one with the 1.4 nanometer pixels or micrometer pixels, and it, like just playing with the viewfinder, looked good. It was picking up a lot of light. That's
Sure.
no indicator, but
Yeah, exactly. Asus's cameras are generally pretty bad.
They're really bad.
Yeah, so I would not expect anything out of that. I would expect the battery life probably not very good. A 6.2-inch display with a 3,300 milliamp hour battery, probably not so hot. Snapdragon 845 is great and all, but when is this shipping? July? Like, I don't know. They haven't said.
So
So
surprised that it has Oreo, considering this new Max Plus has Nougat at launch. So it's like-
I'm not surprised because I'm guessing the Snapdragon 845 does not support Nougat.
and the software wasn't done when we were there. Like half the features they announced didn't work.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah.
That's very Asus.
an
is.
Asus phone not having working software.
So I think, though, Asus, for all of their flaws, tend to be a pretty good bellwether for the direction the industry is going to go in a given year. And so we're going to see a lot of notches, I think, in 2018. It's going to be the year of the notch.
Yeah,
I'm
18
just
by
very
9
sad
displays
about
didn't
that.
live very long, did they? Now we're into the
Yeah.
You know
19
what?
by-
I mean, you know what though? Like, if Android OEMs are going to do the notch, I wish they would just wait until Android P.
They're not, Ryan.
happens.
Nobody's going to wait.
It's just going to be such a mess.
The
But
notch
speaking
waits
of,
for no one.
Using
speaking
the
of-
latest version of Android?
no,
What?
but speaking of Android P, we now know that it's going to have notch support. That's a thing because
does.
the developer preview came out.
It's a great transition.
And,
So,
yeah, it's in.
But when you
Android
call it out,
P,
you really kind of
God.
mess it up. David.
so Android P. Sorry, I mess everything up.
Yes, David.
I'm
Yes,
really stumbling through this
It's
show.
like David on cop syrup is just, he's a little bumbly, a little funny.
It's pretty bad. So Android P. Honestly, so fun story. I feel like I can talk about this. So, I woke up basically yesterday. I was working on the Galaxy S9 review all day, and I wasn't paying attention to anything else that was going on at AP. And I look at the project manager, and there's like all these Android P stories, and I'm like, what the hell is Android P? Like, when did we learn about this? And it turns out that we had learned about it the day before, and I just was completely unaware of this. I was like, I'd forgotten that last year the same thing happened with O, and I was like, wait, Android P is happening already? It was like waking up on Christmas morning, but you forgot that it was Christmas, and you're like, oh, there's presents everywhere. So that was a nice surprise. So I was not expecting Android P at all. It was completely unbeknownst to me. So as we said, notch support is one of the features that Google is highlighting strongly.
Yeah, it's
For Android P.
it's almost suspicious how aggressively they're pointing out that notches will be supported.
Yeah.
But
I'd ask them to cut it out, but
Boo!
I don't. This is not your average
So-
Android feature.
David, stop.
God. So Android P, it's going to support different like shapes and like heights of the notches. So apps will be able to sort of query the system and find out what where the notch is so that they can draw content around the notch. And of course the system will like know how to handle the notch so that your notifications and whatnot don't get cut off. But maybe as part of the weird notch support, the clock is now on the left, which is
I don't like
super
this.
weird. Yeah, I'm not okay with it.
Like, even after using Xiaomi phones for the better part of probably 4 or 5 years, I still hate this.
I feel sorry for you though. That sounds terrible.
It is terrible. But MIUI has been doing this for as long as I can remember, and I've always hated it.
It's really awkward because so you've got like the signal bars and the battery over on the right. You've got the clock on the left, and then your notifications stack up next to the clock, like towards the middle of the phone. And that seems to be like kind of suboptimal if you've got a notch because you're going to run out of space for notifications.
I've heard a rumor that this was a bit of a rushed feature. I might say there was no time left.
David, stop it.
To make a decision.
I'm going to talk to Artem about firing you. I feel like this.
Our readers have been trying for years, Ryan. You're not going to succeed where they haven't.
We have a new David. We don't need the old one anymore.
We should talk about this. We should talk about this actually. The new David, but it's not me. The new David is Steven. So we tried to get Steven on the podcast tonight. So Steven Shank, which I think is how you pronounce his last name. He wrote at Pocket Now for years and was more recently at Phone Arena. Steven Shank is going to be the full-time news editor for Android Police starting when we're recording this today. So hopefully he'll be on the podcast here in the future, probably quite regularly. Steven has a lot of podcasting experience, I understand, from his time at Pocket Now. And you'll be seeing Steven's byline. He had his first article today on the website, and we welcome him to the team, and hopefully you'll be, making Android Police better than, not say we're bad, but better.
No, we're bad. We need help. We need so much help.
Okay.
David's all loaded up on cough syrup. We need.
It's like,
Getting
when
sentimental.
David has some cough syrup, the truth just like comes out of him. He just can't help it.
It does. So yeah. Anyway, we were talking about other things.
I will say that the clock on the left side reminds me of when I had the original Moto G as my main phone, and Motorola would always put the carrier name on the left side.
Yeah,
Where the
Huawei does
notifications
that.
are.
Yeah, that's
And-
it's still a default on a lot of phones. Weirdly, I don't think that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Honestly,
Yeah.
I am like my level of concern over this is 0. I just don't care. Like I can't be bothered. Like I use an iPhone. The notifications on that are like, what's worse than a dumpster fire? Like a tire fire. The notifications on iOS are a tire fire. They are just really bad, and they just they give you it's like you're inhaling noxious fumes. It just makes you feel horrible and awful, and probably gives you cancer. So notifications can now have inline photos and smart replies on Android P, which is a great segue from the awfulness of notifications on iOS. So I think that this is just going to show how far ahead Android is and continues to be on notifications.
these notification examples they show look great, and I want them right now.
Oh, I do too. Like this looks awesome. I
Yeah.
love notifications on Android, and honestly, this is just more of what I want, because there's nothing worse than seeing like you go to open like a text message and says MMS message. I just show me the
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
Or like Telegram, it just says photo.
Now I'm a little bit annoyed because I know now that Google has completely forgotten about Hangouts, it will never get this.
True.
And
Yeah,
also,
I'm frankly surprised that Hangout still works.
Don't
at this
worry,
point.
Ala's gonna get it very soon.
That'll be great because then nobody can use it.
You'll be able to see stickers right in your notification trade.
It'd be great.
I will be interested to see how quickly third-party messengers take this up, because I know it took people a very long time to get on the quick reply train.
Some apps, yeah, but I feel like adoptions overall has been pretty good.
Yeah, and I think part of that, and the nice thing Google did was when they were implementing that was just they already had an API to let Android Wear dictate voice replies, so they just took that and put it on the phone UI as well, and that's how we got replies and then notifications.
Yeah,
Obviously, no one cares about Android Wear anymore, so
no, nobody does. It's true.
I care about hoping that it won't suck someday. That's as far as I care.
I've still got my Huawei watch.
Never gonna happen. Another change in Android P that you won't notice but is good. Background apps can no longer access the microphone, camera, or sensors on the device, excluding GPS, because sometimes you need background GPS. This is a security thing and makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't have this before.
Yeah, it really does seem odd that this had not been considered previously.
Yeah, I mean, there are probably some apps that for one reason or another you want to do this, but it's a pretty narrow use case probably.
And I kind of feel like I mentioned this in the article I wrote about this, but I kind of feel like Google was pushed to do this because of all the recent conspiracy theories about apps listening to you 24/7, like Facebook. That was huge a couple months ago.
It was.
I think Google was like, you know what we could do? We could market this that Facebook cannot listen to you because we blocked them.
That's been a huge thing for years. I don't know what you're thinking. Couple months.
Well, no,
Yeah,
it has more in the recent last 6
Yeah.
months or so, definitely.
Yeah, I think
this
but
is
it's been a
only
thing.
the smart speaker thing, it got everybody thinking about it again, and now it's
did.
very on public consciousness.
Yeah. I think this is it's a good thing. Like obviously apps shouldn't be able to do this. Whatever the motivation was, it's a positive feature change. Granted, it probably should have happened earlier.
Mhm.
Speaking of features that don't matter, but actually do matter a lot to me, volume keys now change media volume by default, and this is
Yes.
bullshit. This is completely ridiculous.
No, you know what I think? No, David, you're wrong. This
David's
is great.
fired.
Why is this wrong? This seems like
How often do you change your ringer volume?
all the time,
Why?
multiple times a day. Because
Why?
I don't want to use the do not disturb button. It's too
Okay,
much.
well, that's just crazy. You're just crazy.
I have a button on my phone specifically like dedicated to the task of adjusting volume. And now I can't use it anymore. Like, why are
right
you
now
doing
you
this
can't
to me,
adjust it
Google?
I do think another way they could have done this is for apps to tell Android I am a media app, so anytime I am open, change it to media.
I thought it already
Because
worked that way.
Yeah, that's
It
how-
did.
Yeah.
I thought it was only when they're actually playing media.
Well, it depends on the app because basically the developer can decide. Like they can just register like I'm a media app, I'm open, and if they do that, then it works. If they don't do that, like if they only register when it's actually playing, then it'll only work when they're playing.
God,
So
this is
what
going to
you're
annoy the ever-loving crap out of me. I
So
am
what you're saying
not
is
happy
that
about
the
this.
YouTube developers just hate me because I have done this so many times where I know a YouTube video is going to be loud and I try to turn down my volume ahead of time and I just put my phone on vibrate and then the video
Fair.
It
lasts.
still
There-
deafens you.
Okay, fair. At the
I feel
same
like that
time,
I feel like
no.
I feel like that experience that Corbin just described is vastly more common than David's complete refusal to use Do Not Disturb.
I agree.
Well, with the
Alright.
alert slider, I very rarely actually adjust the volume.
Well, OnePlus is weird, and that's just
I would
I
like
love
that too.
Yeah, the slider's great.
Yeah.
I kind of want that.
I'm surprised there's
fantastic.
still not like an API for that because don't they still have to like really modify the
Yeah, I
system?
think that's
It's
a
hacked in. Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be better than Notch support, Google.
Yeah, for real.
I want my alert slider API.
So speaking of things that are now dead to me, the Nexus 6P and 5X, and probably the Nexus Player, and also the Pixel C,
yeah.
they're
They're
dead.
no
no
moss.
mas.
Everyone.
It's
no
over.
mas.
Yeah,
End of life.
they are not supported in the developer preview, and they probably are like at end of life. There are no more major updates.
Well, because
Yeah.
the phones are getting security updates through November, right?
Yeah.
And Google didn't, I believe they still haven't confirmed to us that the Nexus player is dead, but someone pointed out that a support page on Google's website says we don't promise support after November of 2017. So it is almost definitely dead.
Which
You know
means
what I-
probably rip Android tablets. And
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing here is that for the first time since they've been doing developer previews, there's no way to test this on a tablet. There's no supported tablet.
Huh. I wonder why.
Yeah, it's almost like Google is kind of done with Android tablets.
Huh. That's so weird.
It's almost like we should just wait for the inevitable Chrome OS tablets to come out.
Don't be ridiculous.
nah.
Because
There's-
Android on tablets is so bad, we want a desktop operating system on our tablets instead.
Yeah, seriously, Android tablets are so dead. Like this is the final nail in the coffin.
Like using that Moto tab, I was like, yeah, this sucks.
I
don't
cannot
want
wait for the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 2018.
And
Sure, it's going to be a
despite,
great device.
despite what the people in the comments say, I'm convinced there's only about a dozen working 5Xs and 6Ps anyway. So I don't think it's really.
Everybody just shares them.
I actually have a working 5X and 6P in my desk right here.
Liar.
But the thing is, like, I haven't used them a whole lot, so that they preserved their useful life.
I think Ryan should go out and buy lottery tickets.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. You should probably get in on one of those lawsuits while the getting's good.
Ryan
So-
will get $12 next
I
year.
actually just got a denial from Motorola over they had the class action thing about all their garbage support a few years ago, and one of the devices that was included was the original 360, and I once sent a defective 360 to them, and they kept it for a month. And I was like, I think I'm entitled to some of this money, and they just sent me a letter like, nope, you're not.
Wow.
my original 360 is still kicking.
Oh, my Moto 360, the battery expanded on it, so it does not hold a charge. And I think if I tried to charge it, it might blow up.
Oh man, my OG 360 still works, still lasts through a day.
Yeah,
Honestly,
when
I'm lucky.
when they finally sent me a watch back, like after I called them, or like, hey, are you guys ever going to send the watch back? They were like, oh yeah, we'll send that back, and they sent a new one. I was like, screw this, I just sold it.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
Good Motorola story. So the fact that Nexus Player is no longer supported is also quite telling. I mean, granted, it has a chipset that Android really has no reason to support anymore.
I'm really surprised it was supported for this long.
Yeah,
Me
so am I.
too.
Well,
Yeah.
the
This
reason
was launched with the Nexus 6, right?
You know what Google needs to do? They should just be releasing developer previews for the Shield, because that's the only Android TV
Yeah,
that matters.
Yeah, it's pretty much an open secret at this point that is Google's development device for Android TV.
Yeah, I saw some of the
no, it
comments
really
be like,
isn't. Dead serious. The Android TV developers were very clear. They are still using a Nexus player. At
That's
least they were as
well,
of
they
a few
can't.
months ago.
They're not now.
Obviously not, but
Oh gosh, yeah, I saw someone in the comments be like, "Man, I really want a Nexus player to come out that supports 4K," and I'm like,
Get a Shield.
See, I was about to say
Oh, wait, what was
that already exists.
that? What was that Xiaomi?
Oh yeah,
thing?
get a Mi Box.
Oh
Yeah.
god, the Mi box
If you
is
hate
so horrible.
yourself.
Yeah, if you hate yourself, yeah.
It
Maybe
ran.
Maybe Google's using that as a developer device.
I'm pretty sure that still doesn't have NuGet. I think they made a NuGet beta like 3 months ago, and it's still not unstable.
Yeah, that's typical Xiaomi fare.
It's really bad. And then apparently, if you try to use it at 4K, which everyone praised it about because it was a cheapo 4K box, it ran like crap.
Yeah, I heard it heated up really bad. But no, like the Shield TV is like my response to people that want tablets. Like just if you want an Android TV, just get that. There's really nothing else out there for one, and two, it's a fantastic experience for Android TV. And it should have dev previews. That would be
You
awesome.
lowered the bar there while you were speaking. It's a fantastic experience for Android TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Android TV is not a very fantastic experience.
mean-
I like it better than
unfortunately.
Roku, though.
nothing
it's-
else out there is really that.
You know what?
Just
though?
use a Chromecast. Just use
No,
a Chromecast.
No, you know what? You know what
Chromecast
the
is
problem.
not the answer.
You know what the
No.
problem is with the Chromecast, and like Chromecast is great for what it is. Like it's a
I want
$30 thing.
buttons.
It's a $30 thing that gets
It
video. on
has
TV.
no remote.
Yes, there's
Yeah,
no
it
remote,
needs a
and
remote.
Android.
Oh,
is
you don't need
still
one.
sketchy.
Oh,
with
BS.
maintaining contact with the app.
Okay,
like, I'll
so
start something playing,
That's
and a few
true.
minutes later, I can't control it.
for my Shield, I had to use the Android TV app as a remote originally, and once I had the remote, it's a superior experience having the actual physical remote versus.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, I just want Google to release a new Chromecast that has a remote.
Jesus, yes. Give me a Chromecast with a remote and we can kill Android TV.
I feel like
because
I'm the
it
only
needs
person
to
who's
die.
fine using his phone.
I
You know
mean,
what?
I'm fine
You
using my
are.
phone when it works, but it works seldom enough.
So
Yeah.
I just can't stand it sometimes.
So the app still cuts out even all this time later.
Well,
Well, I
it's-
remember the original Chromecast, it would like disconnect from play music or.
I mean, it's not
whatever.
as sketchy as it was back then, but like there's still times when like for no reason Netflix, the notification to control it will just stop working.
For me, that varies by device. Like I've noticed on my Pixels, notifications almost always present. 2 hours later, it'll still be there. But if I use my OnePlus phone, that's not the case. It'll split in 20 minutes.
Oh, because Oxygen OS is terrible about background task management.
Yeah, I think it has to do something with that.
It's that Frankenstein of an OS they've
Yeah.
been cooking up over there at OnePlus.
So we do have many more stories about Android P up on the site. Probably like 40 of them at this point.
yeah,
We have
it's a lot.
more
It's
feature
worth it.
spotlights than you can shake a stick at. So you should go ahead and check those out. There are a bunch, and trust me, they are just as absolutely like super nitpicky and trivial as you expect. So you're gonna love them. You should go check out those stories on Android Police. We also have, like I said, our Galaxy S9 review, our Mobile World Congress coverage. There's a bunch of stuff that's been happening the last few weeks. But I think at this point, I think that's probably a wrap for this week on the podcast. So thank you for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Good night, everyone.
All right, and I'm going to stop the broadcast.
Okay.